Hey, it's Thomas here, and today we're going to be taking a close look at Reef Brite's Reef Enhance and Live Rock Enhance, figure out how they work to both feed your corals and simultaneously clean your tank, what the one key difference is between the two, because otherwise they're basically identical. It's going to be interesting, especially because this is from a lighting company. It's the only not lighting product from a lighting company. So let's get into it. So how exactly does one product manage to enhance the pore structure of live rock and sand, help maintain the biological filtration cycle and the curing of live rock, or enhance the growth and color of corals and other filter feeders while increasing nutrient utilization and intake, and increase pod diversity and population count? Well, for starters, the very dry powder inside of this jar is actually alive. Yes, it's alive. And there are a few components in this product that make it do what it does. It's all based in science. It's super interesting. So let's crack this thing open. I'll show you what's inside and let's figure out exactly how it works. In each of the jars, you'll find a Ziploc bag of either Reef Enhance or Live Rock Enhance, a measured scoop, and some detailed instructions. Now, before we get into how to use it, let's take a look at exactly how it works to do things like feed your corals and clean your tank and some of those other claims, because it's pretty cool. Science is cool. First and foremost, these black jars contain microplankton, not freeze-dried and not a powder made from plankton, but rather soon-to-be live microplankton. And what I mean by that is, very similarly to brine shrimp cysts that are in a state of suspended animation, once they're added to saltwater, the various species of microplankton in these jars will rapidly spring to life and make themselves available as food not only to your corals, but all filter feeders and even your copepods, amphipods, and other larger planktonic organisms in your reef tank. But we're just getting started. These microplankton will quickly begin searching for their own food source in the tank and will consume the protein chains and other organic waste in the water that your protein skimmer would otherwise be removing, taking the beneficial nutrients of what would normally turn into skimmate and helping corals and other organisms in your reef tank absorb those nutrients and use them for their own growth by consuming the microplankton that has just consumed those nutrients. When I think about this, I just imagine like a instant taco shell. You have a powder, you add some water, it turns into a taco shell, then it runs around your entire kitchen, stuffs itself full of the best ingredients, and then jumps directly into your mouth. I did mention earlier that there is more than just the microplankton in these two jars. They also contain specific enzymes that help break down other organic waste in your reef tank that typically builds up in the pores of your rockwork and substrate, and then converts that into food that these microplankton will happily consume as well. And that is how these black jars can enhance the pore structure of live rock and substrate while aiding in biological filtration. It is pretty awesome, and it's a great way to use Mother Nature's natural abilities to do multiple jobs in our reef tanks at the exact same time. You get a cleaner, healthier aquarium with faster growing corals, filter feeders, and pod populations, which also helps to feed your fish. It's pretty cool stuff, and it's exactly the thing I like to geek out on. So to address that burning question, what's the difference between Reef Enhance and Live Rock Enhance? There is one key component that is added to Reef Enhance that makes it better at being consumed by your corals and other filter feeders by keeping those microplankton suspended in the water column for longer, right where they need to be for those filter feeders to get to them. That extra component that's added to Reef Enhance is a food source that will keep those microplankton happily fed and preoccupied, floating in that water column where they're much easier for your corals and filter feeders to prey on. Without that added food source, the microplankton will much more quickly settle on your rockwork and substrate and begin searching for food and breaking down excess waste and organics, which is exactly what Live Rock Enhance is supposed to do. And now it all starts coming together. Live Rock Enhance is able to harness the power of microplankton and enzymes to break down excess organics trapped in the pores of the rock and substrate, which helps maintain the biological filtration in your reef system, and if used on a new tank, can help establish healthy populations of microbes that can outcompete nuisance organisms like bacterial slimes and algae. Reef Enhance uses those same microplankton but keeps them suspended in the water column longer by giving them a food source they have the moment they spring back to life, so that your corals, filter feeders, copepods, and other larger planktonic organisms can easily feed on them for better growth and coloration. Dosing Reef Enhance or Live Rock Enhance is super simple. Starting with 1 dose per week, add 1 scoop of either Reef Enhance or Live Rock Enhance per 25 gallons of system volume, or half a scoop per 10 to 15 gallons of system volume to a high flow area of your reef tank. Or to optimize the results, you can add a few ounces of your aquarium water to a container like this cup, and then add the powder to that, stirring every 10 minutes for 30 minutes, and then add that solution to a high flow area of your reef tank. A few important things. Number 1, more is not better here. Even though it's super safe, even if you dumped a whole bunch extra, you're not gonna hurt anything. You're just gonna make your tank cloudy for no reason. Even if you did do that though, don't worry too much because it will go back to being just perfectly clear like it was before in a matter of hours. The cloudiness isn't gonna last. Number 2, your protein skimmer will do the exact opposite of what you'd expect when you dose either of these, and the foam inside the neck is going to collapse. Since these microplankton are going to be consuming the same stuff your skimmer is trying to remove, for a little while after dosing, your skimmer will stop producing skimmate, but it is completely temporary, so don't mess with the settings. It will go back to skimming in no time. And number 3, since it is a live culture despite being a very dry powder, the best place for it is a cool, dry location. So if you have space in your fridge, that's where I'd put it. So if you're trying to figure out which one is right for you, you can actually use either one or both. But if your primary goal is to feed the tank, Reef Enhancer is the way to go. And if you want to get the most cleaning action out of these microplankton possible, then Live Rock Enhancer is the ticket. If you want the best of both worlds, you can actually use both and alternate them back and forth. And although it might seem a little bit odd at first, the reason a reef lighting company is offering these little black jars of live microplankton is because, just like their approach to reef lighting, even though this looks really simplistic at first glance, it's based in science and offers real results. And if you want to see what I mean, you can check out this video right here, where one of the simplest looking LED lights out there outperforms T5s. It took a lot of us by surprise. I remember being floored when I first saw it. So get ready to have your socks blown off and have a watch.